Hey guys, this is Ozzie from Wanderlust Awe Syndrome, where the voyage is contagious. Today I'm going to tell you what to do if you happen to lose a personal item at the Juan Santamaria International Airport in San Jose, Costa Rica. Alright, to give you a bit of a story, I went with my family to Costa Rica in November of last year, which was 2019. We had a blast, it was fun. As we were leaving, I was the first one to go through airport security at the airport, and I was getting my stuff checked just like you do in almost any place you go when you go through airport security. And I was getting my stuff out, and I saw my wife at the time. She was struggling with my youngest daughter, who was 4 at the time. She was acting crazy, wild, you know, just like almost any 4-year-old. And my wife was really struggling to control her, get her to settle down. She called me over as I was getting my stuff, and I had to, after I quickly packed up my stuff, or what I thought packed up my stuff, I went back, got my daughter when she went through, and I drugged her to one of the stores so she can look at toys, candy, pretty much to calm her down through distraction. So we finally got on our plane and we flew back to our home country, the United States of America. We flew to Orlando, Florida. That's where we flew from to go to Costa Rica. And we had to rent a car. We went, stopped at Chick-fil-A. For those of you who don't know Chick-fil-A, it's a popular fast food restaurant in the United States. Very good. They make chicken sandwiches, and we stopped there. We ate. After we finished eating our dinner, I looked in the back of the rental vehicle that we were using to get to the airport in Orlando, and I noticed that my bag that had my laptop in it was empty. You should have seen the face when I noticed this. You see it as I'm a dark person. It turned white in about under 5 seconds. I unzipped my bag open, and lo and behold, there was no laptop there. It dawned on me that I left my laptop back at the airport in San Jose. So just to give you that story, just to give you, see, it happens a lot. Surprisingly enough, to a lot of people who visit Costa Rica, they tend to lose their stuff out there, particularly at this airport. So I'm going to give you some tips on how to get your stuff back when you want them if you lose it out there. The first thing that you need to do is not panic. The reason I say not to panic is, one, you need to realize that chances are your stuff is in a secure location back in San Jose. The airport security will, if they find it, or someone who is generous enough to report it that this item was left, they'll take it, they'll put it in the lost and found, and it will be safe and secure. Also, you need to understand that you need to calm down and focus so you can be able to remember when the last time you saw it, and be able to give details of where it might have been at the time you were leaving or coming into the country. After I calmed down and I settled down, I started to remember, okay, this is where I probably left it. I left it as I was getting checked through security, so I was able to calm myself down, be able to settle down, and said, hey, you know, it's still at the airport, it's probably in good hands, and I was able to develop a game plan. So it's important that you don't freak out, don't panic. Just realize that chances are it's still at a safe location out there in San Jose at the airport. So just make sure you calm down, develop a game plan of how you're doing it, which I will explain the next tips to do. The second thing you need to do is call this number, 506-437-2400. That is the number that you need to contact the airport. When you call them, you will be led to the lost and found department, and they will help you try to retrieve your stuff as soon as possible. I recommend using phone apps such as Skype. That's how I was able to contact them. Skype for me is always a great phone app to call on international or to make international calls. I've used it many times to set up appointments throughout trips that I plan to do, such as when I went to New Zealand, I wanted to do skydiving, and I called to set up an appointment to do on my 15,000 feet dive out in Wanaka, New Zealand. But I used it to call the airport to have a discussion. They're very cheap. So there's tons of phone apps that you can make international calls that are very cheap, so be able to use them. The third tip I'm going to give you is know some form of Spanish or have someone who is pretty fluent in Spanish. Now, I'm not going to say that it's a necessary thing to have. A lot of Costa Ricans, ticos, as they like to be called sometimes, they are pretty good at speaking English. I mean, they get a lot of American tourists, American and Canadian tourists every year, so they tend to know a lot about English, so they speak English fluently. In my experience, when I made that call the first time, I got only Spanish speaking people who didn't know how to speak a lot of good English. Not their fault, it is what it is. Costa Rica is a Spanish speaking country, if you didn't know. So I wish I had brushed up more of my Spanish so I could be able to talk to them more, or I had someone who could speak Spanish. But don't worry, if it doesn't happen, just hang up, try again, call again. Chances are you'll get an English speaker, but it would make the process faster if I knew a little bit more Spanish, or I had someone who could speak for me on my behalf to be able to retrieve my stuff faster. So if you happen to lose your stuff, you know, just study a little Spanish, know what to say, or find someone who can translate so they can expedite getting your stuff back from Costa Rica. The next tip I have for you is understand that the officials at the airport will work with you. The professionals, the people who are manages the airport, they're very professional, they're very polite. They will work with you if they don't know as much English as you want them to have, but they will work with you any way as possible. They will guide you. Ticos as a whole, they are, to me in general, they are awesome people. They're one of the friendliest peoples on the face of the planet, and they will give the shirts off their back if they see you in need. So when you call them, just expect to have a very professional and polite conversation with them, as they are willing to help you get your stuff, your personal item that you care about. For me, it was my laptop, which I do YouTube videos on and do a lot of other stuff that I was like, thank goodness they were able to find it. I made the call, I was able to do what I needed to do, and the process was able to move forward. The last and final tip I can give you is remember the details. I think this was the biggest thing that helped me. I was able to remember the date and time I took off from my airline to go back home. I was able to give a very detailed description of the item. That's the biggest thing. Make sure you have a very detailed description of your item so they could be able to have it and be able to search it in the lost and found. The more detailed, the better off you will be. This is why you need to not panic and freak out, so you can focus on being able to remember the details. Remember the first tip, remember the details, calm down, don't panic. So it's very important that you don't freak out, so you can be able to remember those details. Okay, this is when I flew, this is the date, all right, this is the description of the item. The more information you have, the easier it will be. The wonderful part about it is that I didn't have to pay any money to get my laptop back. I just gave a few information of places where I lived, where I stayed, and they was able to fax it to the nearest FedEx office. So when they arrived, I was able to pick it up. It wasn't too bad of a damage. Actually, it was pretty good when I got my laptop back. So I was very happy. And now I'm here today to continue to make videos on my laptop that I left in San Jose. So Hi, my name is Ozzie Henry and you're on my channel, Wanderlust Awe Syndrome. If you like this video, hit like, subscribe, and share this video. And come along with my journey as I explore the world and sharing unique views, advice, and stories.